Okay, Chris, I've got your 94 F150 computer here. It's a reman, so I don't know what the original catch code on it was. These three blue capacitors you see here are aftermarket. They've been replaced. They look cheap. I don't see any branding at all on them or even any ratings on them. So that's not very helpful. This is the Rebuilders stickers. I don't know what those numbers mean, but they put them on there. That's not factory. So, what are we looking at? Alright. This capacitor here leaked its guts in the past, and well, they've replaced the capacitor. Doesn't really look like the work is that great. Let's see if I can get some better light on that. Yeah, see that right leg there? I don't like the way that looks. That solder joint doesn't look too healthy. See how the solder flows together on the joint on the left? Almost looks like square. The solder's flowing to the shape of the square pad, but over here on the right, that joint looks a little iffy. That doesn't look like a good contact to me. There may be an issue there. And then the board, it looks to me like the acid that leaks out of this capacitor, they haven't cleaned it up right. This should have all been removed and scrubbed clean very carefully. What else we got? This one, more of the same. The capacitor leaked in the past and they didn't clean up the mess. That one actually looks pretty good. Solder joints don't look the greatest, but there's no big signs of damage from prior leaking. Where'd it go? This one here bothers me too. There's some of the fluid from the other capacitor kind of leaked around the base of this, and that doesn't look so great to me. I think that could use some cleanup work. The capacitor itself is probably fine, but I think it needs to be worked on a little bit. So that's what I see. My overall opinion of this is a reman, like an A1 Cardone or one of them brands. I don't know. The sticker that was on the computer head was in really bad shape and didn't hold up, so it got removed. There really wasn't much left of it. I wrote down as many numbers off of it as I could before it got wiped out, though. Everything else on the board looks pretty good, but I think that my overall impression of this, they use cheap capacitors and they put them in probably without even magnification or any cleanup work. They just solder new capacitors in by hand and let it rip. This is kind of sad, actually, for a remanufacturing company. I see this a lot with those eBay rebuilders where they do work like this, but this actually was a reman unit from a remanufacturing company, and it doesn't look any better really than what some of those yahoos are doing. So yeah, we could stand to do a little better here. This probably works, but I have reservations. When you don't clean up this electrolytic fluid that gets up on the board, it'll end up continuing to eat. The acid continues to eat even after the capacitors have been replaced. So this stuff should have been thoroughly scrubbed clean before the new capacitors were installed, and it wasn't. So yeah, I think we could do better here. I'm going to talk to you in a little bit about how this thing is actually functioning in the car, but I'm guessing if you sent it to me, it's probably because it's not functioning too great. Let's give it a bench test here. This test doesn't provide, it doesn't prove everything, but it will give you some ideas. So we power up the computer and we're going to see the fuel pump run. That's this green light is fuel pump, yellow light is check engine, and red light is just power. And this should run for 1 second when we turn it on. And it does. So the pump is priming for 1 second like it should. Generally an indication that the computer is overall functional. Doesn't necessarily mean it's working perfect or right, but it's working. Check engine light comes on like it should. 5.05 volts on the regulator, that's within spec. And then we go into code pulling mode, and this thing should blitz out for a second after running the pump. And then it'll blink some 2-digit trouble codes at us, maybe 3 digits. And it does that. The codes don't mean a whole lot because on the bench we don't have hardly anything plugged in to the harness, unlike in the car. So you're going to get a bunch of codes. We're just more or less checking to make sure that those codes are throwing and that this computer is able to think clearly enough to produce codes. So seems like it's functional, but whether it's functioning perfectly or not, I don't know. This is more of a go, no-go test on this box, so it's basically saying, yeah, this thing is working. How well it's working, I don't know. But if this thing is coming to me to be redone after having already been redone by a rebuilder, I'm guessing that this thing is not running so great. Or maybe you have a different problem in the truck. Definitely cheap capacitors, though, and definitely installed poorly. Probably by somebody who doesn't have magnification and good soldering equipment is my guess. Either that or they're just really kind of sloppy. So yeah, could be done better. I'll upload this and I'll talk to you soon.